The year 2017 did not begin on a very good note for many Bangaloreans. On January 1st, many of us woke up to the disturbing and to a large extent frightening news about a mass molestation incident at the Mahatma Gandhi Road. What threw the country into further outrage over the incident was a statement made by the Home Minister of Karnataka, G. Parmeshwara, who blamed Western influence as the reason. He was quoted as saying in an interview, "These youngsters who are almost like Westerners tried to copy the Westerners not only in the mindset but also the dressing." This, of course, was followed by many activists condemning Mr. Parameshwara and a public outrage on social media. And this chain of events does once again raise a question that has been around for more than a decade now. The question of Indian tradition versus Western influence. Fun fact, this debate is neither exclusive to India nor is it something new. There has been a constant opposition between Eastern and Western thought and philosophy since the two came into contact years ago. Now, to understand this problem, we will be taking two approaches. First, a historic linguistic approach, and second, we will look at an analogy based on modern psychology. We will look at the differences between the East and the West, also known as the Orient and the Occident respectively. Let's now dive into the annals of history. The first point to consider is the alphabet. While the Western world, especially Greece, is considered to have developed the phonetic alphabet, the East for many years has had non-phonetic alphabets, such as pictorial fonts, logographic fonts, or syllabaries. And the country with the phonetic alphabet developed the notion of the Euripidean space. Euripidean space is an idea that every actor in a play has his own personal space. The country without the phonetic alphabet does not have the notion of the Euripidean space. This thought process is explained by the celebrated media theorist Marshall McLuhan, and for those interested, we will give links in the description. The Euripidean space is what forms the basis for the idea of the personal space. Now, let us go to the second approach. By the mid-20th century, neurological research came out with findings that showed the functions of the two hemispheres of the human brain. I'm sure many of us must be familiar with the idea that the left hemisphere inclined people have a more rational linear thought process, while the right hemisphere inclined people were more intuitive and spherical in their thought process. McLuhan again connected this concept to the Orient and the Occident. The West was left hemisphere dominated, whereas the East was right hemisphere dominated. Moreover, research also showed that the visual functions were highly dependent on the left hemisphere, while the auditory functions were highly dependent on the right hemisphere. This makes sense as the vision is linear. There is a clear line of vision. There are clear boundaries and one can discern the sequential arrangements visually. With audition, however, the sense is far more spherical. There is no line of hearing, one hears from all sides and there are no clear boundaries to hearing, nor can sound be sequentially arranged. Quantity is a characteristic of sight, while quality is a characteristic associated with sound. Alright, let's review. Historically considered, the phonetic alphabet came up in the West, and as a result came the Euripidean space, and further as a result came the notion of personal space. In the East, however, there was no phonetic alphabet, no Euripidean space, and consequently, no personal space. With the modern scientific approach, we equated the left hemisphere of the brain with the Western world, which was linear and rational in its approach, while the East, more inclined to the right hemisphere, was spherical and intuitive in its approach. And that is where we come to the idea of culture. Homi Bhabha, a literary theorist, once wrote, "Culture is a practice of survival, and for this survival, the East adopted an auditory approach, one where there is no personal space, but there is a more spherical approach, with the entire community being the focus. On the other hand, the West adopted a visual approach, with personal space being a key element and the individual being the focus. This thought process spills over into everyday life. Think about the joint family system of the East and compare it to the nuclear family system of the West. Or take the idea of choice. In the West, the choice is made by the individual regarding profession, trade, or even the choice of a spouse, whereas in the East, the entire community is part of decision making. This can even be seen in the practice of saving money, practiced in the East, which incidentally is the subject of many stereotypical jokes. In the East, a person saves wealth for the community and for future generations. Financial security, aka government jobs, is more important than taking risks to gain more wealth. In the West, however, risk-taking, buying goods for one's own comfort, these kind of things were looked upon favorably. We are not saying that one system is better than the other, we are merely saying that the two are in conflict. Things would have been fine, with the East living its peaceful, transcendental-oriented life, and the West leading its comfortable, luxurious life. But then came globalization. and suddenly these two systems came into conflict in a very real and everyday sense. The conflict is seen not just in India but the world over. Arab Springs, conflicts in Sudan and Central Africa, Brexit, Trump phenomenon all point to this conflict in various parts of the world. In India, this conflict can be seen in often very ugly and frightening ways. Every year on Valentine's Day, we can all expect a high-scale political drama with interesting statements by right-wing political organizations like the Shiv Sena, Vishwa Hindu Parishad and the Bajrang Dal. This is because we have one community, mainly youngsters, following the practice of Valentine's Day, a Western practice, and there is another community, mainly right-wing folks, who feel threatened by this practice. Then we have modern liberal activists on feminism and LGBTQ rights also making their presence felt. Kiss of Love campaign, Pink Chaddi campaign and the Walk of Pride. Moral policing, love jihads, controversial statements by ministers and so on and so forth. All these are indicative of this conflict. But is there no hope? Are things bound to be this way? I don't think so. McLuhan said that violence is a quest for identity. This can be seen in a kid who reads comic books, both DC and Marvel equally. When he comes across peers arguing about the two, he is forced to choose one between the two and thus identify himself as belonging to one particular group. Communities build identities through violence. Another place this is evident is with sports. Sports provide avenues for people to identify themselves as belonging to one team. The reason people get so emotional about sports is that they make the team a part of their identity, and loss for the team would be a loss for themselves. In this digital, virtually connected world where cultures and peoples are coming into contact with each other, every country is on a quest for identity, trying to know where the said country fits in within this network. And India is also on this quest for identity. What is the identity of India in the global village? Who is an Indian in this global village? Are incidents like what happened in MG Road required? Are statements like what the Home Minister of Karnataka made necessary? I don't think so. In that case, what is the alternative? Well, I propose dialogue, the most controlled form of violence. Socrates said that in a true dialogue, the participants must answer in a manner more gentle and more proper to discussion. He disagreed with the so-called winner forcing his point of view on an unwilling opponent. Rather, he believed it to be a joint effort. I do believe that we as a nation will eventually find our identity someday and that things will turn out well somehow. Till then, we might just have to look for it. Hello all you viewers, YouTubers. This channel is relatively new and by that we mean this is our first video. So we hope you like it, and if you do, please click that like button down there. We like to feel appreciated sometimes, all the time. Also, there is a subscribe button down there. Click that because we will be making many more videos and you don't want to miss them. Indeed.